Hi, beautiful souls. This is Paulina. Welcome to my channel. Today I am back with another combo video, and I'm going to do this one a little bit differently. I'm going to feature this oracle deck here, a beautiful Roots and Wings oracle deck by Ryalls. I have selected 5 different tarot decks that pair really well with it, and this will kind of give you a clue as to the type of tarot deck that you might like to pair with it. These are not the only 5 that work well with it. It's a super versatile oracle deck with lots of white space and fairly neutral colors. On Kat's Etsy page, which is called River and Roots, she has the deck available either in a cardboard box or a drawstring bag. And I selected to purchase one of her fabric bags, which are quite expensive, but I really wanted a pattern to start making my own tarot bags. And I know there's several people that have made instructions on YouTube, but this is really a lovely fabric if you're looking, if you're not a seamstress yourself, if you don't have a sewing machine. These bags are quite, it feels more like upholstery fabric so it's not just a cotton bag, so really high quality fabric. And this is kind of interesting the way she's done the closure. So she's just got a piece of, it's not ribbon, it's hard to really say what it is, but a very sturdy fabric to wrap around the button. So you don't also have to make a buttonhole, which is really nice. Anyway, so there's the bag. Here's the little guidebook that goes with it. So in the guidebook, you have just a few words for each of the cards. And if you haven't already seen a walkthrough of this deck, it is really, really luscious cardstock. So it is that, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just really, really velvety. And the cardstock quality is, my deck is a little bit bendy. I have been riffle shuffling it quite a bit this weekend. But if you are a riffle shuffler, you will love this, like just the feel of the deck in your hands. So yeah. So we're going to use this oracle deck with, as I said, a few different tarot decks. And you'll see over the course of this video that the 5 tarot decks I've chosen, there's something in common with them. So it appears that, at least in my estimation, that this oracle deck works well with a certain type of tarot deck. So we're going to start with Paulina Cassidy's Spiritsong Tarot, which is not an easy deck to pair up with. So let's just place the cards here. Okay, sorry, I just wanted to line the cards a little better because Paulina's cards are so very detailed, and wanted to make sure you could see everything. So unfortunately, the US Games, that's their trademark on some of these cards. So here we have the 6 of Acorns. The nice thing about this deck is if you are new to the tarot, then you have your keywords. You also have your elemental signs. So we have the element of fire, which is the 6 of Wands. And this deck actually sticks quite closely to Rider-Waite-Smith, so it's a very easy deck to read, very gentle energy. And then we have the 3 of Water, so the 3 of Cups. We have these 3 dolphins dancing around the shells. Keyword is playfulness and bliss. And then in the center we have this, the card is a little heavier, so time. What is time? We have the hourglass here, we have moon cycles, and just a reminder of cycles and that things come and things go. This too shall pass. For me, it's an indication of patience and also to be present and to really learn to be in the moment and not dwelling on yesterday or waiting for tomorrow, but really to be in the here and now. And right here and now is a cause for celebration. It's a cause for really allowing yourself, perhaps with others, with colleagues, with family, to celebrate your accomplishments. And you may have been through hell and back. You might be a little bit tired at this particular moment, but this is a time to really kind of revel and appreciate yourself, be in gratitude, especially if there have been others as well too. And what a beautiful combination of cards here. And to have the 3 of Cups with the 6 of Wands is just, it's amazing. So very, very positive energy, but the reminder here that this will pass, but enjoy it for now and be here in this moment. These cards feel so beautiful. So like I said, I have 5 tarot decks, so we'll do 2 combinations with each of the decks. So that way you'll get a look at 10 different cards from Roots and Wings and have 10 sample readings. So breath. Oh, what a beautiful card. And so just for a moment, think what breath means to you. And all of the connotations, breath of life, yogic pranayama exercises, first breath in the world, last breath out of the world. Notice the way the birds are flying. So the head of the bird is pointing towards this card, which is the Knight of Shells. So we're looking at water. And we're looking at perhaps a romantic reading. We're looking at an emotional reading, something to do with, remember that knights as well have that energy of air within them. So the water is fueled by air. So the passion can be quite, if we're talking about passion, it can be quite emphatic, shall we say. And then the birds, the breath is moving towards that charm and that passion. Sorry, this half is all upside down. And then we have the 9 of Feathers. So quite a opposite card here. So the 9 of Feathers with the porcupine, referring to the 9 of Swords. So this would be the Nightmare card in a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And here, Paulina's keywords are perspective and self-empowerment. So when we are kind of lost in our mind, it's very hard to, see the light of day. And perspective is a beautiful keyword to help get that, kind of get that together. And sometimes we really just need to hunker down and wait for the next day, to open the curtains and to see the light. But it's really can also be an opportunity for an internal reflection, much like an 8 of Swords or a 2 of Swords, and really taking a moment to prioritize what's going on. So this, let's look at breath, right? So we also have the element of air and the element of air, and we have the element of water. So this might be a question regarding a relationship or regarding some kind of emotional experience which has you feeling all tied up in knots. And perhaps that's because you're too much in your head. You're too much in your head. You're not in your heart. You've heard me talk about the chakra associations with the elements and how that can get really confusing with the tarot. And the element of air is indeed the heart chakra. So this to me is a reading that's saying, okay, you need to really find some way to get over that disconnect between your heart and your head and really come back into your heart space and either let somebody know or let yourself knowing what you're feeling. You need to talk about it. You need to share it. You need to write it down. You need to journal about it and get out of your head and however you can get into your heart. So the reason I said journaling is because, I won't say of course, the hands are the karmandriya. They are the one way to kind of manifest the energy of the heart. So if you need to move the energy of the heart, you can use your hands. And that is, you can also use them for hugging and holding and that sort of thing as well too. But journaling is one way, right? To use your hands and find this connect between the head and the heart. All right, beautiful. I love the Spiritsong Tarot. Don't use it nearly often enough. So the next tarot deck we're going to look at, and I only have this in the Spanish version, is Lisa Hunt's Fairy Tale Tarot. Okay, so going to Roots and Wings. Just love feeling these cards. They're not exactly sticking together. They shouldn't be because I've shuffled them so much. All right, so here we have the keyword blossom, and I really encourage you to just take a moment to look at this picture and see what you see. You may not see a silhouette. I see a silhouette. I see a person looking down at the garden or looking down at the grass and being with the blossoms, being barefoot in the grass. So this is a card of connection. It's a card of grounding, right? It's a card of perhaps taking a moment and getting away from the busyness of life. Now with Lisa Hunt's deck, you have a couple of options. You can, of course, refer to the messages in the guidebook. So if you have the Spanish version, you can go to the app. There's an app, I believe it's a Fool's Dog app, and get the information about each of the fairy tales. Or you can read it from your Rider-Waite references. So here we have the Three of Cups, same card, I believe, as we finished in the last reading. But what's striking me here is that we have all of these blossoms here, and then we've pulled a blossom card here. So it's truly, truly incredible how decks work together. And the thing that this deck has in common with the previous one is that we have this very, very busy art. And generally speaking, Kat's deck, this one has a lot more on it than some of the other cards, but you've got this sense of spaciousness and more white space on the card. So they look really, really nice together. And Kat's card does not have a lot of, what do I want to call them? Like the colors are fairly neutral. They're not super brilliant. And so they go well with a lot of different tarot decks. And then we have the Princess of Pentacles. And you probably know the story of the Princess of Pentacles. And we're looking at the element of earth and the element of cups. So what's kind of going on here? Really interesting. What's coming to my attention in the two cards on the other side of the oracle card is that the princess, the little girl, is indoors. Yet there's some kind of a calling to move outside. Do you see how the curtains here are billowing? And it's almost as if, you know, the window is open for a reason. The wind has awoken her. And yes, the pea may have awoken her. Or I forget how the story goes, but there's something calling her to go outside. And if you look here, perhaps she is in a dream, or she's awoken from a dream. And while she is indoors, she has in her mind or in her imagination, she is outdoors. So there's some kind of a calling to go outdoors and to be with nature, right? To get up out of bed, to get connected through touching the flowers, to touching the grass, to being outdoors. So completely reading that intuitively, there's some kind of an underlying message there without even going to what the messages are for the Princess of Pentacles or the Three of Cups. So if I'm going to go to more of a Rider-Waite-Smith association, I'm going to say that there will be some kind of joy. There's going to be some kind of stirring in your heart as well from getting outside, from really connecting with nature. And if you are not well, if you are sick, because when I look at both of these cards, I'm asking myself, why is the little girl inside, other than the fact that it might be night? But perhaps she is ill. Perhaps you are ill and you're unable to connect with nature and you're just dying to go outside. And so, you know, bring the plants indoors, find ways to connect with wholesome foods and things like that. Maybe your caregivers aren't giving you the most wholesome of foods, so you can call up your favorite friend who's going to, you know, prepare you this lovely pot of homemade soup or something. So there's some reason, there's something that's really important right now why you need to connect to a more nourishing diet or to get outside and to be with nature. We did, of course, not ask a question, but it's really, really obvious in this reading to me that that is what needs to be happening right now, the kind of shift that needs to be happening in your life, in your energy, in your environment, in your surroundings. All right, so turning over these two cards, I see really kind of diverse colors and imagery here. We have the void and a lot of dark colors. And then here we have the Four of Batos, the Four of Wands. My first impression in turning over the cards is that these cards are quite different. This is quite a dark card. This is quite a light card. So let's look more closely and see what else comes up. The hand seems to be mirroring the beanstalk, moving in an upward direction. I also noticed this hole here, which is kind of mirrored in the void here. This, I'm assuming this is Jack on the beanstalk. Look how far he's already climbed. And you can see the expression on his face. He might be a little nervous. He might be a little scared. This could also be like the energy of a Fool card. And he's moving away from his stability. He's moving away from his security. But that tree has him, right? As we have these two trunks growing together, they becoming stronger and stronger. And if this is Jack and the Beanstalk, you know that the Beanstalk becomes quite solid and quite strong, and Jack is able to climb up and down it many, many times. So there's an example of knowing the story and be able to bring in a few elements from the story, but you don't need to know the fairy tale that this comes from. There are so many clues in the picture. So there's a sense of adventure and there's a sense of freedom. And when I look at the Void card, I'm thinking, well, it's a blank slate. You can do whatever you want to do. This is a time for a new beginning. It's a time to step away. And perhaps you're not wanting to step away. And maybe this reading is about giving yourself permission to step away, to move, to a new place, to move in a new direction, to perhaps mix things up and do things a little differently. Over on the right, we have the Eight of Cups. And this is quite a tumultuous Eight of Cups. Very stormy, stormy scene. And so perhaps what you are moving away from was not very comfortable. It was super emotional and just way too much. You gave it your very best, but now you have recognized that it's time to leave. And as I said, I was looking at his expression here, and he doesn't, he is young, but he may be questioning whether that was a good thing or not to move forward. But looking at the card over here on the right, he knew that it was time to move, and you know that it's time you have to go. And the path might be a little challenging. This is not the easiest path to be navigating, but you need to trust that the universe has your back and there is strength here. So this card, I am not pulling into the traditional meaning of the RWS Four of Wands. I'm just allowing the images, I'm allowing the pictures, I'm allowing the fairy tales to kind of just draw me into a message. And it's just really a beautiful way to go about a reading. And you never know what aspect of these pictures the querent is going to associate with. And if you can draw something out of them as well too, you'll be able to get, a really beautiful reading. Do you want to do one more with this deck? It's just so lovely. Okay, so we have the Four of Cups. So there's a sense of melancholy. There's a sense of sadness. Why is she sitting alone on the beach? The fish has come up, started a conversation with her, offering something perhaps. Remember, this is a fairy tale deck, so anything can happen in fairy tales. And is this a rising sun or is this a setting sun? Does that matter? Perhaps it's a moon that's coming up, a full moon. So all those are the kind of questions that are kind of in my head as I'm beginning to unfold the reading and move forward with that. Okay, so here we have kind of a sad looking image, right? It's lacking that sense of freedom. There's a sense of worry. There's a sense of confinement. Also quite a frail looking figure, right? Not healthy, not feeling strong and energetic. So moving outside is definitely going to help with that. But there is underneath the Four of Cups. So if we go to the Four of Cups as far as emotion, but also intuition. And I know intuition is associated also a little bit with swords, but for me, intuition comes in the Four of Cups, not just the Four of Cups, but the Suit of Cups as well, the Suit of Water. So really starting to connect with the element of water. And I'm probably going to go with this as a full moon rise and really allowing and suggesting that the querent look into some of the challenging things that have been arising right now and really kind of being with them, not fighting them, and seeing if I can get the querent to reveal what's really going on and what is creating this sense of restriction. And why are you feeling so suppressed, perhaps depressed? All right. And this card might give us some kind of answer or some kind of comfort. And I probably would use this more as a comfort card, just suggesting that what you are moving through right now is really important. And this may be part of your some karmic balance that you need to be working through at this time. So the Justice card, I often see that way. If I'm not going to go in that direction, because that's something that I wouldn't be able to say to the querent if I knew that was not a comfortable language for the querent, then I would probably just go with that. Whatever is causing this worry, whatever is causing this situation to feel you so restricted, please know that as you work through this, everything is going to come into balance. And if there have been any wrongs, they will be righted and things will feel a lot more better. And then offer some suggestions depending on the situation. I often give breath practices or simple meditation practices to help clients work through, when they're in a very difficult situation like this. So yeah, so that's Lisa Hunt's Fairy Tale Tarot. And then the next one that we're going to look at, which I did the other day, I did a video about the colors of the Tarot, the Magical Forest. So let's have a look at the Magical Forest next to Roots and Wings. All right, let's just move this a little closer to you. This deck is a little smaller because I have trimmed it. All right, so our next Oracle card. Ooh, look at this. Looks a bit like a world card, doesn't it? See all kinds of things here. I see the conjunction of the moon and the sun with the earth and a real sense of peace. So we have this deep connection. All the elements being blended here, right? Because we have water, earth, air. So fire is absent. That might be something to notice. And I definitely see a sense of ether. So a super kind of balanced energy. Beautiful, beautiful card. Oh, so same card on the left. We have the Four of Wands. So you can see how different this Four of Wands is from the Jack and the Beanstalk card that we had in the Fairy Tale Tarot. And then we have the Seven. Okay. So the Seven is always a challenging card because nobody likes to ask a querent, like, have you been deceptive? Have you taken something that doesn't belong to you? Are you being manipulated? Like, these are really difficult questions to ask a querent. Sometimes they're really difficult questions to ask yourself. And we can also have a look at the element of the moon being here. We can look at the phase of the moon. That might bring something into the reading. And why is this, opposite this card of foundation and strength and happiness and stability? And it just doesn't really connect. In the center, we have this beautiful card, which connects beautifully with this card. So what is this deception about? What is this? How is that connected to the story? Not even having a question. Where in the world would you possibly go if this was an impromptu reading? I'm imagining all kinds of scenarios here. But the first thing that's coming to mind is that it's time to go home. It's time to go home. You've been away from home way too long. And perhaps things have not gone as well as you planned. And you may have been on a great, grand adventure. You may have lost some things along the way, but it's time for you to collect whatever you can and to move back to a more stable and comforting and reliable situation. Now you can take those words and apply them to a few different scenarios. Not just necessarily, like traveling around the world or something, but it's time for you to move back to a more stable situation. Take the lessons that you've learned and leave the rest behind. Perhaps you're not feeling well. Perhaps your health has been a little bit compromised. And so both of these cards here are speaking to that sense of nourishment and everything that's associated with a healthy and balanced home environment. All right, let's do another with this magical forest. So we have the Ace of Swords. Let's do the tarot cards first this time. Ooh. One thing I might bring into the reading is that the Queen is facing away. So why is the Queen facing away from the message that's coming up in the center? So the message in the center is perseverance, which is something that the Queen of Swords knows all about. So I'm going to just kind of blend these all together. And so this new thought, this new idea that you are having, whether, oh, there's so many things this could be, right? So this might be, you've had an aha moment and you're wondering if whether you should move forward with a project, or you are preparing a speech, maybe to give in front of a bunch of colleagues. Or when you go with Ace of Swords, you can go with ideas, you can go with words, specifically with language. But this is an opportune time for you to step forward with something new. And remember, the aces are fleeting, so you need to act on this and not postpone this for a month. This is something that you need to do right now. There may be some opposition to you stepping into this role. If this is going to be a leadership role that you're stepping into, or there's some sense of power, maybe you're going to upset the apple cart by taking charge and convincing your boss that you should be the keynote speaker at this next conference. But you need to persevere with this. You need to make your point. You need to make your presentation articulate and to the point, so that they know that you're worthy of this, because you are worthy of this. It just might be a little bit of a challenge. All right, here's our next tarot deck. You may or may not know this one. It's fairly new to my deck collection. This is the Way of the Panda Tarot. And this one is, ooh, okay, that's where it wanted to separate. This one is going to look quite different. So the previous three decks, tarot decks, have been quite busy. And so a lot of artwork on the card. And here we're going to be looking at two decks with more white space. So lots of white space on the cards. I've been having quite a difficult time finding a tarot deck can't find my words today. An oracle deck that works well with the new Panda deck. So we have Blind. Let's just talk about Blind for a minute and what comes up for you when you see Blind, when you see the keyword blind, or when you think of the word blind. Is it always a negative connotation? What are the positive aspects of covering your eyes and closing your eyes and using your internal gaze? Blind people tend to have more active senses. The other senses are much more alive. They're much more aware. Or are you not paying attention? So depending on the cards on the other side, you could go in different directions. So because there's so much white space on the Panda deck, and the cards, the cards are very, very colorful. So they're more, it's a completely different color tone from the previous three decks that we looked at. If this deck was fully painted with these bright, bright colors, I probably wouldn't use it with this deck. But there's something about the white space and the contrast here that just seems to work. So we have the Queen of Pentacles and the Queen of Cups. So lots of loving mother type energy you are being surrounded with. And why have you been ignoring that? Why are you not open to receiving a hug? Why don't you want to be held? Why don't you want to be supported? Why don't you want to be nourished? This might be the kind of questioning that I would go with. Perhaps this is just too much motherly love. This is, you feel like you are living under, a helicopter parent kind of situation, a helicopter boss. You don't have enough space. So it really will be important in talking to the querent to find out, which side of the coin you're on. Are you not paying attention, or are you closing yourself off and moving inward? However, this is really beautiful energy here, but I can see how it might be a little bit overpowering having these two very, very strong queens on either side. And remember, the queens are not necessarily feminine energy. Now, on the left here, we have one of the extra cards. So this is not, this is the caffeinated panda. So I'm going to try to read with this without drawing another tarot card. We'll see what happens here. I decided to leave the extra cards in just because they're so really beautiful, but I may just put it to the side. We'll see what happens. So without looking at the humor here connected to the caffeinated panda, let's look at what's going on. So this is not an atypical scene by any means. So this is way too much vata in the Ayurveda sense, right? This is not being connected. This is being too busy at work, not eating well, not being nourished. And so if you're trying to create something, if you're trying to bring something to fruition, maybe this is your desk at work, just be aware that things are not in balance right now. Definitely not in balance. Okay, so that was fun, but I just want to give you another opportunity to read a straight up tarot card with this beautiful oracle deck. The extra cards Kim has included in this deck are really, really fun, but they can be really tricky to use in a reading. So I'm actually going to remove them from the deck, and I'll figure out what I'm gonna do with them. I do like the artwork though. So we have the Fool with manifestation. So that's a little bit easier to read. Stepping forward on this next path for you is definitely going to be in the right direction. So the answer to the question is yes. So whatever has come up for you, that's, makes a lot more sense than the caffeinated panda. And by the way, I had the witchy panda over here, just in case you were wondering. And then we have the Ace of Cups. So beautiful opportunity for you here, and really, really embrace this journey. It looks to me like a relationship that's coming to pass, or something that you, with your whole heart, have been working towards for some time, and now you really need to go for it. This is just really, really beautiful. So good on you. I'm going to do one more because I feel like I kind of shortchanged you with that interruption in the clip. So in this Eight of Swords, the panda is hanging upside down in the tree, which is really kind of, again, it's fun. There's a lot of humor in this deck, and that is not, sometimes when decks are really humorous, it's more challenging to read with, because that layer can just make things really, really confusing. So I'm going to go back to something I said earlier. The swords is connected to the element of air. The element of air is connected to the heart. This decision, the situation that you found yourself in, I really want you to go deep into your heart. And the reason I'm saying this is because gratitude is one of the most powerful medicines for the heart space. And if you can kind of dig yourself out of this hole and just start, even if you have to fake it till you make it, naming things that you feel grateful for. Start with something that's really, really simple. And that might help you to feel a lot better. Look how great these two decks look together, by the way. Just saying. And we have the Justice card. So I don't know what your situation is. I don't know why you have found yourself here, but there's this connection here between, we have a sword and swords and a sword, and this really beautiful teaching in the middle. If we can be grateful even for life's most challenging experiences, then we're going to move through it with much more ease. If we move through with resistance, then things are going to be a lot more challenging. So choosing this path is always easier. The final tarot deck we're going to work with today is very new to my collection. It is the Stolen Child Tarot by Monica Knighton. And like the first 3 tarot decks, there is a lot on each of these cards. So we have the Page of Zephyrs, which is the Page of Air. So the Page of Swords. And the Worker. I really like this card in Cat's deck. And Strength. This is a very interesting reading. And what's coming up for me here is that while your comfort zone may be in the intellect, it may be in research, also on your own, working individually behind the scenes, this particular situation, you're going to need to get your hands dirty. You're going to need to go out into the field to be with other people and to step into a completely different experience. And from this experience, you're going to discover something about yourself that you didn't realize. You're going to discover an inner strength, an inner quality that you didn't realize you have. And so while stepping away in a new direction might feel scary, it's going to be really, really good for you. Okay, last one. Ooh, we have a heart. The Ace of Brine. So we have the Ace of Water. We've had that card with another deck today. So Ace of Cups, what does that bring up for you besides the beginning of a new relationship? And that's a really lovely combination. I've pulled this card quite a bit in this deck. Balance. This looks like a really beautiful relationship. And I hope the question here was, am I going to get pregnant? What I'm seeing here is 1, 2, 3. Right? From 1, you become 2, and then you become 3. So it's really, really pretty. I love the colors, the color combination here. If the question wasn't about, am I going to have a baby? It's something similar to that. And the answer is that either the relationship is moving in the right direction. It's a really, really healthy relationship. Or if it's, a different aspect of your life, if it's about a passion project or something like that, you are moving in just exactly the right direction. And the 3 of Wands in a traditional deck is about, your ship is coming in. Keep moving exactly as you are. And please know that you definitely are on the right path. Hi, I'm just popping back on to apologize. I didn't realize what a strong shadow the candle on the right, the red candle, was casting. And so I wanted to just show you a couple of the cards you really didn't get an opportunity to have a good look at. This is the 8 of Cups from the Fairy Tale Tarot. It looks a lot like I was going to say a lightning card, like a tower card. Really powerful energy. And I'd like to do some more work, do another video with this deck. It seems that it's a really underutilized deck and has so much potential. One of those decks, much like the Alice Tarots, where you have this opportunity to weave the story into the traditional RWS system. So you can look forward to that if you are interested. And then from the Stolen Child, you didn't see this card very well. This is the Strength card. Beautiful depiction of a buffalo. And even in full view to my eyes right now, it's very difficult to see the buffalo's eyes. It's a dark shaped image, but really, you really do get that strength coming through the artwork. So yeah, really, really beautiful. I'm almost tempted to do one more reading here. I just feel really drawn to this deck. The Stolen Child has really moved a lot of people. And I think it's one of those decks you either absolutely love and feel it kind of in your soul, or it feels really, really confusing. So here we have a brain in the Ace of Zephyrs. So again, this is feathers, this is air, and just beautiful imagery. There is a limited guidebook that comes with the Stolen Child, and I believe Monica is working on a much larger guidebook, something that can be printed. There is a PDF right now that is available, and you can have a look at it even if you haven't purchased the deck. What a pretty card. Goodness. So that's not necessarily a keyword that I would associate with the Ace of Zephyrs or with the Ace of Swords, would be goodness. And so I'd really kind of look to this reading as truth. And really important that with this particular ace, that is the focus, and allowing truth to be kind and genuine and, you know, serving a higher purpose, because sometimes the Ace of Swords can really cut in the wrong direction. And so the King of Pentacles is really going to bring that into balance. So this is about really taking charge and make sure that you're doing this for the right reason. Thank you very much for watching today. And please let me know if you have any comments or questions about the decks that I have shared with you. Stay well, my friends. Namaste.